All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live Pain to Purpose podcast. Oh my goodness. I am so grateful to have on my beautiful soul sister that we just met not too long ago. And oh my goodness, we've just connected and it's one of those things, if you've ever met someone, it feels like you've met before or that you have just known each other before. That's exactly what this connection is like. And so I'm really grateful and excited to have her on today. We're going to be talking about awakening the priestess within, which this beautiful soul is all about, and just about her journey of how she's even became a healer and an oracle and working with women in awakening that goddess within themselves, along with something that we really talked about was just how women we have this ability, or this what's another word for it, we can have this sense of competition with one another, whether it's with how we look, whether it's with what we do or what we can offer, or even, I know I've gone through it even with like my abilities as a healer compared to other women healers out there too, and like, oh, am I like powerful enough, and all of these things. So I'm just really grateful to have her on today. So please tell us, just how are you?
I'm really good. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a lovely introduction. Yeah,
Mm.
definitely such a beautiful connection that we have. I was so happy when you reached out and got in touch and said, "Hey, let's connect." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." I looked at your picture and I just immediately felt like I'd known you for years. And then and then when we got on the talk and started, connecting, it was like, oh yeah, we're so connected, such a soul sister connection. So I'm really happy to collaborate, and I'm all about collaboration and really wanting to heal the feminine wound of jealousy and competition and
Right.
all of that I feel is so prevalent in our
Yeah.
society, and like, to me it's part of that masculine patriarchal energy. And so,
Right.
being a priestess is about healing the feminine wounds, and that is definitely a big part of it. So yeah, did you have any questions around that? Or
Yeah, I would love to know your story. So if you could share with us your story of you how you knew that awakening the priestess within women and healing that divine feminine wound, how you knew that was part of your life's purpose.
wow, that's a really big question. um so I'm 46 years old. um and I've had obviously a quite a long life um this far. It was really, just a side note, it was really funny because we met someone the other day, and I accidentally said I was 36, and my son, he's almost 13, he said, "Mom, you are not 36, you're 46." And I laughed. I was like, "Oh God, you're getting old when you like lose a whole decade." Like, it wasn't a few years, it was like 10 years, just like, and I was like, so I've had a lot of experiences. And um, I was initiated as a priestess in 2004 in Glastonbury by a high priestess, but I was not at that point ready to outwardly like come out of the magical cave and say, "I'm a priestess." Like, this is just a recent coming in to that part of my being. And I had plans, like I was working on my master's degree in psychology. Um, here in Sweden because I've moved here from New Zealand. And so I was deep in my studies. And then, the universe sometimes just says, nah, that's not what you're doing. This is what you're doing. And I had gone on to a vision quest in the forest and asked the universe, to show me because I'm Native American and I like to be on track of what I need to be doing and not what I should be doing. So in some ways I was kind of shooting on myself, and I don't think you should ever should on yourself. You should be doing, your soul path purpose work. And I was very loudly told that I was to be a priestess and that I needed to start activating other women and doing this healing work. And that, if it had been maybe 10 years ago, sure, I could have done, been on that pathway. But because of the urgency of the state of the world and everything that's going on, like I've been guided that this is the work that I need to be doing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so it's my soul path purpose work. And as when you're doing your soul path purpose work, then all the doors just start opening and as soon as I went, okay, and I'm not saying it was easy, but as soon as I put my crown on and said, okay, this is what I'm doing, and really owned my priestess power, my, who I am, like fully stepped into that, then just everything like dominoes just went, and it's been amazing. So, so there's a lot to say, but so your tagline again is you're turning your pain into your superpower, which
pain to power, power to passion, passion to purpose. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that so much because
thank you.
Mine's awaken, align, transform, shine, transforming your wounds into wisdom and your wisdom into superpowers. So we're kind of saying the same thing in different ways.
Our heal, align, transform is our other one. Yeah.
So cool. I love that so much. It's like total alignment, you and I. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Work we're doing. So yeah. And my husband said to me, when the water in the harbor rises, all the boats rise, and that, people like us that are, doing similar work, we can come together and we can empower each other and we can support each other and we can really, help get the message out there and what we're doing and really activate, which is what it's all about, and so my pain to my purpose, or my, my wounds to my superpowers, really goes all the way back to my childhood and my wounds with my mom, my wounds with my sister, wounds. My mom was 15 when she had me. And so she was just a kid, really. And,
right.
There was, not to go into all those wounds, but, the feminine wounds, they run deep, and they don't just run, like in society, but like deep from generations, and generations. And it's a big one with patriarchy and the masculine energy and the feminine energy. And, we even to the point where like we're taught to push through and, you will succeed and like be an overachiever. And I know I became an overachiever because totally, my mom was an alcoholic at the time. She's sober now and she's went back to school and she's now a drug and alcohol counselor. So she totally transformed. Yeah, she transformed her wounds and she's doing really well. But at the time, like she was drinking, my dad was doing drugs. Like it was a really, really difficult childhood where mostly I felt lost and so I had to, in a way, become the warrior in order to survive. So I had to really step into that masculine energy and push through. And so then I became an overachiever, got straight A's. I graduated school a year early. Like, And it was, succeed, like push, 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 push. And, you need to do that sometimes, but that can also exhaust you. And it can be, it can be like that. It can create an imbalance. And so, and also on, like, there's that layer of pushing, pushing, pushing. And you have this with yoga too. You can get into those yoga where you're pushing, pushing, pushing. And getting back into the divine feminine is creating that balance between the masculine and the feminine, like the sun and the moon. And still succeeding, but not pushing yourself beyond where you're really at. And so, I think that also with the masculine and the feminine is that there's this wound of maybe I lost my track. Where am I? So
No
much
worries.
today. I'm like, oh my God, there's so much. I think when we stepped into our power as women as well, and this is, going back even before my generation, but certainly I know when I stepped into my power, I became kind of like a boy, like kind of like I'm a tough girl, I'm a warrior, and yeah, you too.
Mm-hmm.
And, that is not really the feminine either, is it? I mean, it's very like it's that patriarchal energy again of we're going to be powerful, we're going to be strong, and we're going to be like, but somehow we lost touch with our femininity, and we lost touch with our connection to being soft. Like we all started cutting our hair off short. I shaved my head at when I think I was 22 when I really came into my power, and I shaved my head and I wore combat boots, and and being a woman is very feminine, and it's like about the mysteries and the magic, and being able to wear a dress, being able to wear a crown, being able to put, to be feminine, but also to be strong and not be like one of the boys, like one of the men, and so to be able to redeem and reclaim our femininity as women within our own right, aligning to the seasons and the cycles of the moon and our intuition, right? The power of that's within us as women, I think is so important right now, especially with everything that's going on the planet. Like, to me, awakening the goddess or awakening the priestess is also like reclaiming and awakening our connection to the earth and to her seasons, to her cycles, and to, regaining that connection with the planet and with our tribal roots too. So, being in alignment with who we are and not being these machines, these doers, like instead of being doers, being beers, like being.
Wow, that's so powerful. And you said so many really powerful points there. First of all, I have to acknowledge, I love that you're so open about your age, because I know how many women are like not okay, or it's just like, don't ask a woman her age, you know what I mean? Like as if it's, a bad thing to get older. And so I definitely want to acknowledge that part of how beautiful it is, the cycles of growing and becoming wiser and stepping into your elder. I know, like my best friend's 37, or she's actually 38 today, and hey, happy birthday, Paulette. And like most of my friends and even my partner, they're much older, because I love and honor the wisdom that you gain from going through life, through experience. knowledge is just knowledge until you experience it becomes wisdom. So I love that you're so open about that. And definitely I know it takes a lot of vulnerability to like be that softness. I know, like, just from watching my father in a period of time where I didn't have my mom around, I like, it's like a protective mechanism, like you said, like it's a survival thing. Sometimes you do have to put on your combat boots and put on your leather jacket and like, hey, sometimes that's just what you have to do. And so there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like, where I'm at currently in my life, of learning that you can still have everything that you desire without having to push and force. It can create pain and suffering for you. If you're running against resistance, like, you're going to build resilience and strength, and you will get where you want to go. But there's also like this surrendering and allowing what you desire to come to you.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, definitely there's the balance of the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, and they create, that really lovely balance. But that's what we're wanting, is that balance, not only externally with women's rights and, all of that, but within each and every one of us. And so, exactly right, like knowing when to, put on the combat boots and get things done, but then also knowing when to surrender to what is and to go with the flow and allow things to be. And I think that's, the sweet spot, and that's the magic and the
Right.
beauty of really reclaiming the feminine. And because I think that's really, really powerful. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, it is.
Yeah. And, a little bit more about, the feminine wound. I know, so I've been working as a healer on and off for little over 20 years. And when I came back because I took time off when I had my two boys, because I wanted to be mommy and put 100% into them. And so, so I took some time off. And then when I came back and I started working again, it was really interesting because, I had been at this yoga studio doing yoga, and it had been like my home studio, and I was friends with everyone. And, I'd been there practicing yoga for a little over 5 years. And once I trained to be a yoga teacher and I started teaching, I noticed the dynamic between some, not all, but some of the yoga teachers that had been like, hey, Shamet, da 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 da, had, once I became a teacher, they're like, hey. And I was like, what? Like, and they'd be like, hey, I was like, the whole energy and the way that they were with me was one of competition. And it really threw me. I was like, what has happened? Like, the landscape had changed because the dynamic. And, I have noticed this from time to time, and it's just made my heart so sad. And, like, that's something I'm really, really passionate about, is healing, bringing awareness to the feminine competition, that we are all beautiful, that we all, and I think this is about trusting the alignment as well with, everyone's soul path purpose, that there the world is not scarce. Like, there's an abundance of people, there's an abundance of resources. And I feel like this is part, of the healing, is to remember and to I don't know, bring more awareness that we are all abundant and there's more than enough to go around. And, I just wonder, like, what that is and why it exists. And it has really, like, impacted me. And I'm not, because I'm an intuitive and an oracle and an empath, I can feel it. And it's not a nice feeling, is it? Have you experienced that as well?
Oh man, yeah. I've had when I was in 8th grade, I wasn't getting into good stuff, let's say. Not necessarily hanging out with the right crowd. And then eventually, like, I just started hanging out with the guys more than the girls, and there was just a few of us girls. And then they started like saying that, like, oh, I'm a slut, or like I'm this and that because I'm like flirting or whatever. And then they started like just getting more and more distant from me, and started prank calling me and saying that I'm trying to get with their men and like all of this stuff. And then eventually ended up to all three of them uh, jumping me. And that was like a big, as far as like women, like a woman to woman, and like three women needing to overpower me for whatever reason, whether if there was like jealousy or they're feeling the competition, like I was trying to be with their men or whatever it was. And I'm like, what? I'm like 13, 14 at the time, you know what I mean? But still, like, that was a huge turning point for me where it's just like, you know, for me, it was like, being who I am for me and not needing to be someone else for anyone else. Like, just being who I am, regardless of what anyone else thinks. And that was a big turning point with who I was choosing for my friends as well. And I do feel like as women, I feel, and regardless if it's like a man or a woman, really, but surrounding yourself with people that uplift you, and the collaboration energy, it's so different because now I'm surrounded by collaboration. It's not about this competition, like if there's like somewhere to get to or arrive to. There's nowhere that you need to be but here now. And that's a big realization I'm having right now, is that, Wayne Dyer talks about a lot, that when you're constantly striving, it's the disease of more. Like, you're always going to want, once you arrive, you're not arrived, you haven't arrived, because you're always going to want more. So I feel like it's so, but as far as like, getting somewhere and making quantum leaps in our lives, when we can collaborate with each other, like me and you collaborating instead of like, and I was actually really excited because I used to get really intimidated by other healers, like, oh, are they more powerful than me, or like that was a big thing for me, and it intimidated me a lot. But instead of like, we're in each other's reality because we're reflections of each other, that mentality, that we're all reflections of each other, so there is no competition because we're all extensions of each other. So yeah.
Have you heard of in Lakesh? Means I'm another yourself.
Ooh.
Yeah,
In what
it's
language?
it's Mayan.
Maya.
So in Lakesh, it means
In
I am another
Lakesh.
yourself. Yeah, I'm a reflection of you. Yeah, I love
Oh.
it so much. Yeah. So they say in Lakesh at the end, and as a greeting and a departure. But I love that because it's true. Like I believe that we were all one, and then we all separated out, but we're all like these different aspects, and then doing this cosmic dance of all these different experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So how has doing healing these feminine wounds and doing this work, how has it shifted your life doing this work?
Yeah, I've been working with the chakras and working with the energy and transformation for, a long time, like
Yeah.
something years. Um, I have healed a lot. I think that, it is like an onion, there are layers and layers and layers. And I'll get to, a place where I'm like, oh, I'm feeling like superwoman. I feel like I'm healed and like I've arrived and, I'm transformed and whoa, and like everything. And then, then there's more. And so, like, so I now know like what I can't remember who, one of the philosophers says, the more I know, the less I know, or, that it's like it's a journey and there's no exact destination. But yeah, I mean, I've healed so much. Like I am able to come on here and be live and talk to, people that, and have the confidence to be who I am and speak my truth and just be me and be seen. I would not have been able to do that, say, even 5 years ago. So I've done a lot of work to get to where I am now. I have manifested my husband, my soulmate.
Mm.
We've been together for over 20 years. I have two beautiful boys that are amazing. I've got a great relationship with my family. I've got amazing friends. I've got actually everything that I need or want in life, and really happy. I have a lot of joy. I feel besides like this need and this desire to help heal and transform and like help others, everything for me is sorted. Like I've got everything I need. So that's a really good place to be. I feel like all the work that I've done on myself has really brought me to a place of freedom, liberation, abundance on every level. I have so much gratitude. I have a beautiful connection to spirit. I'm an oracle, and a priestess, which means I get divine messages from the universe. So I have a really great, relationship with whatever you want to call it, God, goddess, Allah, spirit. I think it's all one, the universe, the cosmos, like all different names for the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, I went to church a few years ago. I don't know if I told you this when we were talking, but I went to church and I had fun. I love church. You get to sing and it's community based and everyone's nice, and and I love the singing part, and and I love gospel. Like I just speak in tongues, sing, dance, like a good church that has a lot of soul. Like it's amazing. So I was like singing and dancing, and they had a live band, and I was like, yeah, this is great. All up into the point they kept trying to save me, and it's like, oh, I'm already saved. And I think, that's another thing, is like going on and talking about this brings more and more awareness, because there is such a division between, religion and spirituality. And, even some people get really upset that I'm calling myself a priestess, because of the priest and the church. And like, I was Christian for a long time. I used to teach Sunday school. Like I was really into going to church because my family were all drug addicts and alcoholics, and I was not going to be anything like them. And so I got really into God and church, and was a devout, Christian there for a while. And to me, and I have really good friends that are very religious, and like one of my good friends here in Sweden, we get together and we have the same ethics, the same morals, the same values, the same love in our heart, the same devotion, yet we're completely different. I'm a priestess, hippie, spiritualist, alternative, chakra loving, sage burning, like
Mermaid.
wearing like she's very conservative, and like the opposite. And she goes, God, we couldn't be more different, but I love you, Shamet. I said, I love you too, honey. And to me, I know that we are the same, in that our connection to the creator is the same. It's pure. There's no agenda. It's about love. It's about compassion. It's about kindness. It's about being a good person. Yet there's this, for the, for the religious and for the Christian, there's this division. And so part of me, saying, okay, I'm putting my crown's crooked. I've got to straighten it here. Put my crown on and, really own my connection to the divine source is like reclaiming so much. It's saying we don't need a middleman. We don't need the priest or a man to tell me what my connection is. I know what my connection is. And so it's a real like empowering of the divine source connection to come right through. And, I know you're doing similar work to me. So there's a lot of us doing very similar work and just calling it, different things. And, I think it's important not to get kind of too hung up on the name or the
Right.
yeah, it's about doing the work and about connecting and finding joy and finding happiness. And different people are going to resonate with different people and different programs and different ways, and that's the beauty of it all. But for me, it's not that I said I'm going to be a priestess. It was like told, it was divinely guided. Okay, this is what you're going to do.
Right.
And then I heard the calling, and now here I am. But putting the crown on, to me is like it's an act of, and the representation of the crown chakra. The crown chakra is energetically at the top of the head, which I know, but it's opening up to that divine connection so that you can be tapped in, tuned in, plugged in, turned on, and have your connection to your spirit guides, to the universe, to the earth, to your chakras, and being spiritually sovereign. Yeah,
Mm.
which is really important.
Wow.
Being spiritually sovereign. I remember, so many what I see now is very hypocritical people in the church trying to save other people that didn't need to be saved. It's like,
Right.
yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, such a powerful reminder, such powerful wisdom. And I just love the um that accessing that deeper knowing that like your connection is no different from the next person or the next person, that we all have this ability to connect to the divine. We just have to hold that space and make that time, and then have these. I love plant medicine. I love tools, and a crown is like one of them. It's like, or if you're like sitting down to meditate, you make some tea and you make it like a ritual, like that I'm going to go and connect, and making it as divine and sacred as possible. So my question for you is, as far as awakening the priestess within for the women that we have listening right now, or the women we're going to have listening to this, what would be, some tips, some of your top tips to really awaken that priestess, awaken that goddess within?
Yeah. Good. That's a great question. So, just before I go into that, though, there was one other thing that is finally coming through my attention. Is yeah, I have had these situations where, and I'm sure you've had these situations too, where you run into other women that are dressed up all goddessy and they've got their goddess clothes on and da da da, and but they're really catty and they're really like I ran into one of these women in the doorway, and I looked up. I said, "Oh, wow, you look beautiful." And then she just looked me up and down like, "Who are you and why are you speaking to me?" And I was like, "Oh." Um, I just want to say, like, to me, that's not what being a goddess is about. That, it doesn't matter if you're wearing a t-shirt or gumboots or, your Levi's or your whatever. Like, it's not about dressing goddessy or wearing a crown or anything like that. Like, being a goddess, being a priestess is about your connection with the divine, with with source and with kindness and being connected to your heart, compassion, like that to me is what a goddess and a priestess is being connected to the heart and being connected to source energy, and not any of that other, like that to me is wounding, is the feminine wounds again, you know. And yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, because I know that some people, some women will get triggered by, you know, by me just wearing my goddessy, you know, clothes and things too. And that's another part of it, is like, I did for a while not like dress down and like make myself a little bit smaller. So, you know, not to, you know, stir up the cauldron of jealousy with and envy with other women. But I am, you know, as I get older, I'm realizing, no, I'm not going to play small anymore. I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to stand strong. I'm going to wear my goddessy clothes and my crown, and I'm going to smile with an open heart and say, hey, how's it going? You know, and
Yes.
you really like, cool,
Yes.
you know, and friendly, and like really embrace like that, the queen energy sitting on the crown, but ruling from a place of love, which is a really, you know, it's that high priestess with an open heart, to where, you know, we're loving each other and we're lifting each other up, and we're not trying to push another woman or man down so that we can rise, because that, right, that again is that scarcity mentality, and that need to put someone else into the shadow in order to rise, and that's old paradigm, like that's old
Yeah.
paradigm stuff that's not working anymore.
Right.
And so yeah, so I just wanted,
Oh,
yeah, I wanted to clarify that. um and so that's one thing that you can do, like access your heart, you know, and keep connecting to your heart. And, you know, the other thing is trying your best not to be judgmental. I mean, that's part of it, right? Is all the spiritual teachings, religion and spirituality teaches about not being judgmental. Yet so many of us find ourselves being judgmental. And so it's right. And I'm guilty of it too. Like I've done it as well. Oh God, what is she wearing? And then it's like, oh gosh, Shamet, that's terrible. Check yourself, you know? And so just, you know, being aware of your thoughts, being aware of your feelings, because we are all energy, and our energy affects other people. Like just even thinking the bad thoughts is affecting someone on some level. You know, I 100% believe that. So it's like checking our thoughts, being aware, but also being kind to yourself too, and being gentle with yourself, because it might be a learned behavior, it might be an insecurity within you, it might be one of your wounds, you know. So to be as loving and kind with yourself and your own journey, your awakening, as well as you become more and more aware of your shadow, because that's what's happening on the planet as we awaken, because we're all awakening, right? And we're all becoming more and more intuitive and more psychic. And so it's about, you know, being aware of our thoughts, being aware of our emotions, acknowledging our emotions, being gentle and kind with ourselves. um, I got a dog. I always said I was a cat person. I was never going to get a dog. And now I have a dog. And my dog teaches me so much about, you know, unconditional love and acceptance and being kind. And so that's kind of how I treat myself now. I'm like, oh, it's okay, honey. I treat myself like I would my little doggy or my children now. And that's a really good, it reminds me to be kind and loving to myself. And I think that's a really big thing I want to offer up to everyone that is listening, is keep just being really loving and kind to yourself. You know, like bringing your hands to your heart, giving yourself a hug, like Yeah, when you get it wrong or you mess up and you judge another woman, or your competitive streak comes out, because we all have moments of our shadow, right? Is
Right.
going, oh, that's okay, honey, you were just a little upset there, and just being really gentle with yourself. Yeah.
Right.
And
Mhm.
the other part is spending, a little bit of time every day in nature, hugging trees, um, you know, sitting down to meditate if you can, or dance, or do yoga, drink enough water, look after yourself, get enough sleep, look after your body temple, your mind temple, your heart temple. Yeah.
Mm. Oh, I love that. Yes, yes. It's when I tap into feminine energy, definitely the being gentle and surrendering. It's been a huge process for me. Just I have been like a very masculine woman, very independent, very masculine, always loved like kick-ass workouts, that just kick my ass to the ground type of thing. Um, and as I'm getting older and I'm reconnecting with feminine energy, it is really just about surrendering to what's coming up for you and knowing it's okay to feel what you're feeling. I know for me and many of my clients and my friends as well, when we're around our moon time, can get a bit more sensitive, and that's okay. That's okay as long as we're aware enough, uh, and not like projecting and like attacking, because it's really easy to react out of that emotion, but to just be aware that this is your experience right now and hold that space for yourself. It's okay. It's okay to feel how you're feeling is one of my favorite freaking lines. So, oh, Shamet, thank you so much for all of this. Is there any last message you'd like to seal for our time together today?
Yeah. Have you heard of a book called The Red Tent?
Oh, yes.
Okay, that's my favorite book. Yeah, I love that book. So, anyone that's listening, that is a must for all women. Like, put that on number one priority, read The Red Tent. And, in ancient times and ancient cultures, we had the red tent or a moon lodge that we would go into. So when we were menstruating, we would go into the moon lodge with all the other women. And this is before patriarchy took over, and the women, the wise women, the mothers and the crones, they would teach the young women about what it meant to bleed, and what it meant, all the rites of passage to be pregnant, to all of that, and they would teach them. But now with our society, like, everything is different, and we've lost touch with those sacred ways. So, yeah, and I think it's so important. I've been making my own red tents, my own little moon lodges that I go into. So when I start to menstruate, like, I take time to read, I take time to journal. I try not to do too much. I try not to plan, I mean, sometimes, like, I did have a workshop this last time, but I just said to the women, I was like, I'm menstruating. I'm in my red tent. I'm going to be a little bit tired. And they were so loving and kind. And as soon as I said that, they just relaxed, because they could see that my energy was different. So I think it's important to really acknowledge that, and not be, to release the shame around it, and to because we're actually more intuitive during that time. The veils are thinner during that time. And it's a time to really go in, an opportunity to really nurture ourselves. And the other thing that we used to do in tribal times is belly dancing actually started as a way of giving birth. So the women would belly dance to, get into the hips and create that passageway for the baby to come out. And the women would surround the woman, and they would all belly dance. I know, it's amazing. So when I was pregnant with my second son, that's what I had. My baby blessing was everyone belly dancing around me. And it was so beautiful. And so belly dancing wasn't actually for men. It was for women. It was women, honoring the divine. And then so patriarchy has taken that and made it this something else that it wasn't actually originally, and this is the history of belly dancing. So that's another example of how we can get back to our inner priestess, how we can awaken that within us, is all those rites and rituals and ceremonies of creating, a moon lodge, creating a red tent, and belly dancing too is a beautiful way of really stepping into your priestess power, your goddess power.
Oh, wow. I love that we're on this topic. And for any of you watching us live, if you do have any questions for Shamet or I, please just put it in the comments. But something I want to acknowledge is something that I noticed while I was in Mexico, just some of what the women were saying, just like that their period, their moon was just like a damper, like just like not like it's like, oh, I'm so glad I don't have that anymore, or like it was just like all this yucky energy from like shedding every month, and it just made me sad because it's actually very beautiful that we get to cleanse our womb, and when we're more conscious of it, it's more powerful, because then like those stories, or like anything from that you've received from your partner or partners that you've been intimate with, there's so much that can get stuck within the womb. And the fact that we naturally get to shed that, and through intention, I'm letting go of all that's no longer serving me. You literally have a physical symbolic representation of this, and it's not something, I just feel like society has made it something, just gross or this or that. And it's just like, I no longer use tampons anymore. I use the moon cup. And yeah, just to not create waste, and it is beautiful.
Tampons are so not good for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I just love that we're on this, because even if you're a woman watching this that no longer has your moon, you can sync up, whether it's the full moon or the new moon, and you're gonna have, just because you're still in alignment with the moon, so there's still going to be a difference in your energy, even if you're not physically shedding. There's an energetic cleanse that still happens around that time. So is there anything you want to say along those lines?
I'm so glad that you just said that piece, because I have had women ask me, they're like, oh, but I don't have a period anymore. And it's like, well, actually, you still have the energetics, like the energetics, like you're still a woman, you still have a womb, even if you're not menstruating. So that's exactly right. That energy is still there. Yeah.
Right. Oh.
And, another piece of that, which we're all healing from, is the biblical story of Adam and Eve, and, Eve eating the apple, and then being the fall of mankind, and the guilt and the shame and the feminine wound of being the cause of the fall of all of mankind, and like that's a heavy story. And I love redeeming that story. I don't know if you saw the picture of me holding the apple, but it's like, if you think about it, if I told my children, hey boys, in the middle of the garden is the best tree with the best apples, like, and if you eat that apple, you will know everything and you will be wise like me. Well, of course they're going to go and eat the apple. Like,
Right.
The whole story is so interesting. And, of course the woman was smart and decided to to want to have the knowledge and the wisdom that, that God had as well. And actually, good on her. Like, if we really reclaim that story, it's like amazing. If in fact that really did happen, it's like the woman wants to be wise. Shouldn't the woman be wise and eat from the tree of knowledge? Like, yes. And I think, that could be so, like, if women don't know that, it can be so empowering for them to know that it's okay, and yeah, I don't know if I'm verbalizing that very well, but I do think, and I know this from my own story, that was definitely a wound that I had to heal from being Christian for so long. I did have the guilt and the shame of being a woman and being, feeling like I was beneath men in so many ways. And it's not until my older years that I'm like, what is that all about? Like, that's not true. That's not the way it is. And I think that, with everything that's going on in the world, I know I can really talk, so I'll try to wrap this up. I have a lot to say, but with everything that's going on in the world at the moment politically, there's always a silver lining. And when, the storm happens, if we can try and be the eye of the storm as much as we can be, and to know that sometimes things have to get really, really dark, things have to get really, really bad in order for us to rise up. And just to, I want to leave everyone with that, is knowing that there is a silver lining and not losing hope. Because of everything being so dark and being so intense and so heavy, more women than ever in history have been stepping into their power, especially in America. So that makes me so happy, because I know so many disempowered women, and to know that they are now claiming and stepping into their power in this amazing way, I'm so excited. And that comes from, think about your own life. When you're oppressed, you're going to fight for your independence. You're going to fight for your rights. You're going to fight for your freedom. And so, yeah, it's exciting for women. It's really exciting. The goddess is awake and the goddess is rising. And so, yeah.
And I do just, I love this so much. Thank you. This has been incredible. And I do want to touch on, for any men that are watching this and been listening, to get some insight for their women or just for your own self, there's always, I do believe in unity. And so, and I know you do too, we're all about unity. And, but something I want to express with the goddess rising is that it within men as well, the healing of the feminine wound within men too. I know even like with my partner and just like men that I have around me being more, and majority of my clients have been men, and they've told me that they wanted to work with a woman healer because it made them feel more comfortable to be vulnerable, which is interesting because even like I've had one client that was like, I'm scared what you're gonna think of me. It's just, there's this, there's definitely that it's a collective wound, and it comes in across within men as well, to be okay with your emotions and your vulnerability. And men can be just if not even more sensitive at times, so everything that was said today, this applies to men as well. I do want to incorporate you guys out here. I know we have a few watching right now, and so yeah,
men are absolutely, completely, 100% welcome in my priestess training and my circles. Oh yeah, I had a man last week send me an email. He's like, I really want to do your priestess training, but there's one problem. I'm a man. And I was like, no, that's not a problem. Like, this is about the goddess within each and every one of us. This is the
Mhm.
divine feminine within each and every one of us. And yeah,
Exactly.
we have a divine masculine and a divine feminine. I know some men are more feminine than some, the female friends I know. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, me
I
too.
love that I love that you clarified that, because sometimes I can go on a bit of a rant about, the injustices of what's happened with patriarchy. But, you know, during the witch burning times, when they killed the healers, there were men as well. It wasn't all just women.
Mhm.
So
Right.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The
Right.
divine, it's a patriarchal energetic imbalance that we're now bringing back into balance. So it's not really about gender, but
Exactly. Right. Yes,
it's
exactly. Yeah.
complex, isn't it? Yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up though.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, of course. Yeah, currently in my Healers Academy, we have one man that holds down the divine masculine, but he's so beautiful within his divine feminine and isn't afraid of being vulnerable. And yeah, it's just beautiful. So I know that being okay with your emotions as a man is important for your healing. Otherwise, it's going to get stored into your body and create physical disease and illness, and we don't want that. So, Shamet, is there any? How can people contact you that are listening to work with you and or just connect with you? Anything like that?
Yeah. Online is the best way. I've got a website, and I do everything online these days because I'm living in Sweden, and with
Mm.
the coronavirus as well. Um, you know, so I do all my one-on-one sessions and my group work, and the priestess training is online. So yeah, did you want me to send you those details or?
Well, I will, I have your website information, so on the podcast, I will put the link and I can put the link out here on the video too for you guys, but you are tagged, so you guys feel free to reach out and connect. And thank you so much for sharing your
And
beautiful
and
story.
I do one-on-one work as well. Transformational belief coaching. Yeah, working with releasing any blocks or any beliefs that are getting in the way of you creating your most abundant life, and
Mhm.
healing wounds. I'm a chakra energy healer as well, and an oracle. So bringing, channeling in divine messages.
Yeah.
Um, for, yeah, yeah.
Oh, she's just incredible, isn't she, you guys? Thank you all for tuning in. Christy, hello, Donnell, Jonna, Marsha. Um, Thank you, everybody. You guys are awesome for tuning in and just have the best day and namaste.